Does God exist? Why are we here? What happens when we die? These are just some of the questions I will be putting to my guest here today, the wonderful Mr. Ali Woods.
Thank you for coming to me. I think this is where we should start these sort of conversations. Is with, I feel like a bit of I have knowledge on this.
You have knowledge.
Yeah,
Well, that's why I got you here. Ali, for those of you who don't know, Ali is a stand-up comedian.
Oh yeah,
a comedy writer.
That's right.
A comedy performer.
Comedy actor.
Things.
Yeah,
all of these things.
Yeah, I'm trying to be serious when I act, but everyone says it's comedy. That's what's annoying. My page is supposed to be quite a serious, dramatic piece, but people keep saying they're like relatable sketches.
Have you ever done any acting that wasn't comedy?
It's a good question. I'm actually, you are telling me this, I'm supposed to be acting in this film next week where I will be a kind of comic relief but have some serious moments. Right. So that might need to actually learn how to act in the next few days.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely act. That'd be very interesting for you. Anyway, right, back to the podcast. Right, so we start off with the first question. Really is just tell us a little bit about your upbringing and your first kind of exposure to any kind of religious education or guidance. Was there? Can you remember when you were first?
So I was brought up in the godless place of North London.
Right.
Yeah. So my area, Mill Hill in Northwest, is very Jewish. My family are anti-religious.
They're anti-religious.
So not really religious. My mum and dad both felt that the world would be better without religion. So I'm glad you're starting off your podcast on a light note. But then I went to a Christian primary school.
Yeah,
because that was the nature of Church of England. You go there. So we went to Christian primary school. So I was singing hymns all day. I'd come back and my dad would be like, "Stop that nonsense." So I as a kid at primary school, I believed in Jesus and the Bible because I thought that's what it was truth. It was taught as like truth,
right?
In school, and I would have gone to school. When would I have gone to primary school? 1997 to 2005, something like that. I think that kind of 1990. Or if any producers are watching, sort of 2016 to 2023. But yeah, so at that age, that's when I first got taught the Bible. But my parents, none of that. They didn't like any.
Why do you think that was? What about your grandparents?
My grandpa was Protestant.
Right.
So in Scotland, and he was the only grandparent I really knew. I mean, I wasn't old enough when they passed to really get to know any of my other grandparents. My grandpa, who I'm named after, was a close to him. He died when I was 25, so I knew him a lot. So I went to mass with him one time.
Yeah.
And I also would go to church, and when we were visiting him, and my mum, I remember one time saying, "Go up with him" when he went up.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know. And she was like, well, just do what he's doing. So I took communion.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, was it confirmed or anything? And so the person there, and this was in Airdrie in Scotland. And so I was there and knelt at the priest, and I didn't have any of this training. I didn't know. And the priest, is in thick kind of Airdrie. And I was like, what? I remember in this very important Christian moment, I went, what? And he went, do you accept Jesus into your heart? And I was like, oh yeah. And he gave me the wafer. And then it was just shape the blood of Christ. Yeah. And then have a bit of wine.
And did you say it loud enough for other people to hear?
Well, no.
How did you do it? You were kneeling down, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's different in Catholic churches.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So you're kneeling, I think I've seen it. You're kneeling down like along the altar, is it?
Yes, that's it. And they come down and they go, do you accept the body of Christ?
Okay.
And that was my, so I took communion without being religious.
So you never went to mass, you never went to church as a child with your parents?
Oh, no. Only for school. School,
yeah.
You do the harvest and stuff and you go to church for that. And then I went to my secondary school was by fact it is a Christian school, but again, very few Christians there. Most of my school was like Hindu, Muslim. So yeah, but I kind of, I guess year 7, 8, 9, I was like, what's going on with Jesus? I don't care about this guy. I don't have to care. It's not real, okay. And then that's how I felt. But primary school, I'd go to church, never with the family.
And when you were initially told about religious studies in school and primary school, did you like it? Did you like the stories?
I like stories, man. The stories are banging. I mean, the stories got to be pretty good if they're still telling them today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the fish and the feeding the 5,000, that's a banger. If you whack that out at a session and afters, and like one time my mate had 2 fish and 5 loaves and he fed that would be a banging story. So those stories are good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed kind of the teachings of Christianity, like the Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
And I was like a real like nerdy kid that wanted the approval of the teacher. I was like, I'm going to be the Good Samaritan, man. I'm going to be so good. And that was good for me in a way. And I think it formed some moral values.
So that must have been confusing though. Like you're going to school, right, and they're telling you about the Good Samaritan and be nice to people, and then you're going home and your parents are like, "Oh, well, we're against all of that."
Yeah,
You
mate.
know what I mean?
I'm in my room reading the Bible. My dad bursts in. He's like, "That better be porn." I'm like, "It is." So that's how it felt. I kind of, you know what? They weren't like, don't listen to anything they say at school. It wasn't like this was some sort of like I was going back to some sort of commune.
Yeah.
But when it came to it, when I'd ever asked them, like, "Oh, do you think Jesus?" They were like, "I don't believe in any of that."
Really? They were that upfront
Yeah,
about
I mean,
it.
my dad was very, like, anytime, there were any problems in the Middle East on the news, obviously this was when I was growing up, we don't have that now, but he would be very much like, why do people care about this? Like, it's this religious warfare stuff. Like, it's bonkers that you would go and kill yourself and kill others because of some made up thing. Like, that's how it would be described as. There was no sense of, well, you can understand how maybe people have different faiths. It was none of that.
So it's very much the Richard Dawkins,
Yeah.
the kind of thesis or whatever.
Yeah, and when you're dead, you're dead. None of that. Oh, we're going up to heaven or anything like that.
At some point in this early life in primary school, did you believe in God?
100%.
You did, yeah.
Through primary school,
Yeah.
maybe you're thinking when you're getting 11, you're starting to get some sort of ideas for yourself, some sense of personality. Maybe towards the end, year 6, I'm kind of thinking, ooh, do I really drink the Kool-Aid on this one? You know what I mean? Start to question stuff. You don't just go, yes, sing along, from the tiny ant. You're not singing those bangers anymore. You're like, the musically this is great, but is this tiny ant even real? But during that, era, so age sort of 4 to 10, I'm a Christian.
Right.
That's me. I believe in it all.
You believe in it, and
We did have one Muslim kid in our year, I remember, Akmal. Shout out Akmal. So there was also that, like there were other. It wasn't like a pure Christian. Like you couldn't go if you weren't like a Church of England kid.
Yeah.
But it was a classic sort of, I guess, I don't know, suburban city primary school in that you had to be Christian, but there was, people
So
of
you,
different
so
faiths.
you would have a religion class. Would you have a
Yeah,
class?
yeah.
Yeah. And what the guy who was Muslim, did he sit in that or he sit out of that?
No, he's there for it.
He
He was there. I guess he just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, because I think in my school, if you were Protestant, you didn't have to sit in the
Really?
religious class. Yeah. I think.
You've got a whole different other thing. You're fighting within the same religion. That's how into it you guys are. I'm bringing up Islam and Christianity. You've not even got out of Christianity and you've already divided in the class. Oh, we both believe in Jesus, yeah, but not the way these guys do it.
I think they were allowed to just sit in like an assembly room and just do other work. I think
Really?
they were allowed to sit it out.
So I think that was part of maybe the attitude of the school the primary school I was at, was that it was, well, this isn't that serious.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a good way to bring up kids. It's almost like a village mentality of like, teach the teachings of the Bible. Because you had to, it's a Church of England school, but it was more like, these are good morals to have as a child.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, we didn't have to read the Bible, or like no particular verses. Like, it wasn't like we were doing that. It was just more like, let's read this story of, the time there was gambling and he threw the tables and stuff like that.
Right,
What's
right,
going
right.
on now? I don't remember what
But
Hippodrome.
moral
Casino.
philosophy.
Yeah.
Philosophy.
But I think that was it. It was
Yeah.
like, this is good, this is bad. If you do good things, you go to heaven. If you do bad things, you go to hell. God's always watching. Jesus died for our sins.
Right.
Christmas is banging. You get presents. It's like Santa. Jesus was like Santa in a way.
So at this time, do you think that everything you do has been watched?
Right now,
No, at that time.
at that time, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember praying. I did pray. I remember I did the odd occasion pray when I was young.
Yeah.
But I don't remember ever being like, before I go to bed, got to pray or anything like that. And even my grandpa, Scottish people, Glaswegians, they're very matter of fact. My grandpa went to church. He died at 85. He went to church till he was 80. And then he just stopped going because he's like, I can't be bothered with it. Like, he wasn't there going, you've got to read the Bible and get. He would never profess any Christianity when I was with him or at his flat. But he would always go to church every Sunday until he was about 80. Yeah. So it was that sort of way. It was like you did it because you did it.
Habit.
It wasn't. Sorry.
It's kind of like a habit.
Oh yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
And I think there was also his era as well. There was probably more of a community of like, if you don't go to church, then everyone's going to be like, where were you at church, Alistair? I mean, that did happen sometimes, that kind of thing of, well, didn't they see you at church on the weekend, Alistair? That sort of thing. And you had to kind of keep up appearances a little
But
bit.
sometimes a bit of that would be not so much that, we didn't see you at church, why haven't you been doing that? It was almost like, we didn't see you at church, is everything okay? Do you know what I mean? That it was out of character.
Nasty people.
No, you think it's
no,
like...
yeah. I guess that probably is right. I think, but there's people who ask that question endearingly and sympathetic, and there's other people who kind of are looking for gossip or something like that.
Right.
So I guess.
Well, my next question, which I think we already know the answer to, is: do you believe in God?
No. No. This clip's going to get pulled up when I'm getting rejected from heaven after I've died.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, so you believed, yeah? Okay, let's get this clip up from Peter's, from Jack, let's get this clip up from Jack's podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't. Do you?
Well, I was going. My idea for this podcast was I was going to keep my answers hidden.
Because you work in mysterious ways.
No, I just thought it'd be more interesting as the podcast goes on, and maybe at a certain later point I could get someone to come in and ask me the questions and do a role reversal. But I think for now, I'd rather focus on. What do you think of that? Do you think I'm barking up the wrong tree there?
So I think it's hard to ask such heavy philosophical questions
Unless you're revealing
without
yourself.
some sort of vulnerability from yourself.
Okay.
And I don't think you need to maybe go into the depths of exactly why and all that sort of stuff. But I think a general answer that people could bounce off, maybe would be, because otherwise it feels almost like some sort of the Spanish Inquisition.
Right, but that was what I was going for.
That's the best.
I read about this
podcast atmosphere. So I'm going to kind of interrogate you on your your philosophical religious beliefs. Without revealing anything about myself. Next season you'll do it behind a one-way mirror and come in with a little button. There'll be like flames and stuff.
Yeah, no. Well, obviously it's the first one, so I'm still kind of feeling out how it will go. But just for the record, I think what you're describing there, it would be probably quite similar to me, except for the only difference there is my parents were religious and they did go to mass and we did go to mass. But I think probably my parents were probably like your granddad in that we went, but we never really talked about it. Do you know what I mean? We went, half listened. Came home, but I would say that both my parents were religious. But,
it's sort of probably like supporting like a sort of championship or League One team where you kind of go and you kind of hope it's all right, and whether it's good or bad, you kind of go home and well we went. And maybe you might have something in your life that then makes you closer to it or more lapse.
Yeah,
but there's a kind of mediocrity to it of like it'll always be here, and you know the lesson's always the same.
Yeah, now
I guess if you go for decades, I don't know how much it can change.
It doesn't change, and I don't think they were overly interested in the lesson. But like my mother would stay and talk to a lot of people afterwards. Like, so there was a social element.
Well, that is part of why I think there's been no replacement for that to an extent. This is my theory.
Yeah,
is why so many sort of young women are sort of our age or younger or who are secular are now into sort of witchcraft and the universe, because there's in the UK, it's such a secular country. There's like a vacuum now where people still want this sense of community and sense of like there's greater things beyond what we're just doing here. And I think a lot of women that you could replace that with like, oh, there's like the universe and there's like magic and witchcraft and stuff. Whereas men it's like an island. Where it's like, oh, I'll replace that by going to the gym.
Right.
Oh, I'll replace that by shutting everyone out and getting 4% body fat. And so I think there's still a space for community that probably was good about the church. Because similar, my grandpa would chat to people and people would want to chat to him. People would want to catch up with him because it was their one time to see him that
meet
week.
up. So what then, like you say, there's this vacuum, right? So what would you say then if you were having a difficult period in life, or you were having, where do you turn then?
I'm a big stoic man,
You're stoic.
100%.
So it's the gym. It's the
You can only control what you can
lean
control.
back into the discipline kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Get the routine.
Yeah, it's like, well, what can you do?
Yeah.
My partner now, she's got anxiety, right? Since I've started dating her. She had that before. I checked. I filtered it that way. She's got anxiety. So she's complete opposite of me, which makes us a good team.
Right.
Because I am deluded.
Yeah.
I think I can just sort everything,
It'll all
be all right. in the end.
Yeah.
And she more thinks that, we're sort of one decision away from a catastrophe at some point.
Right.
And so there's so where she, she'll have a speed bump in her life, something will go wrong, or the threat of something going, except things going well, but the threat of going something wrong. And that may be hard for her to just sort of cope with in her head at that point, because she's like, it's all spinning out of control. I'm the complete opposite of like, stuff might be spinning out of control. I take the complete opposite view of like, right, what can I do right now?
Right.
Is that to just go brush my teeth or something like that? So that's what I do. I just think, what are the few things that I have control over that will help me, and I'll just do them. And then eventually I think things start getting better.
And you think you just do that instinctively? You don't consciously sit down and take this, I'm going to do this. Or do you think you have like just an instinctive nature to do that?
No, I think I've trained myself. I'm an emotional person, quite a sensitive guy.
Right.
And so I would be more prone to mood swings when I was younger, a lot.
Right.
Yeah. So if things are great, they're really great. They're just amazing, bouncing off the walls. And then if things are bad, it's the worst anyone's ever been and felt. And I've kind of, as I've got older and sort of read a bit more about it and talked to people about it, found ways to sort of deal with that, to not try and lose the passion, but also have a level-headedness. You know how some of these sport athletes and stuff, like, Roy Keane, right?
Yeah.
You want to keep the competitive edge,
right,
but not let it ruin your career. Right. And so I've kind of done that. So I think I still have these emotions, like these sensitive reactions to stuff, but now I've channeled that. I don't think it was instinctive. I don't think I was brought up with that. And my parents were very much like, my mum has that sort of, I don't know, well, if it's Scottish working class mentality of just do work.
Yeah.
Just work, and then everything will be fine.
Right.
There's no point crying about it, or
the Protestant work ethic. The Protestant work ethic.
Just get to work. That's your problem, is that you're not working.
Yeah. Right.
And then my dad doesn't listen. So, between them, the answer was always just get to work.
So to make that transition from you've got these emotions and then to you're in a calmer place now. What do you think helped you get there? Was there certain books you read that got you?
Well, the Daily Stoic was good.
The Daily Stoic, yeah.
Yeah. Love's Executioner was very good. Have you read that?
No.
I've forgotten who it's by. It's a guy called like Dr.
What's it called?
Or something. Love's Executioner.
Love's Executioner.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very lucky that I've dated a lot of very intelligent women.
Right.
Who have shown me the ways how to live a good life, a better life. I would not have got any of these from my male friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was this lady I was dating, and she said she was a really huge reader. And I was like, what would you think of all these books you read? What is the one that you'd recommend to me that you think? And she recommended this, Love's Executioner. And it's basically by this psychiatrist who goes through, I think it's 8 case studies that he had, changes the names and all that.
Yeah.
But they all have the same root of their problems. Different problems, but the same root is that they're scared of dying. And he says he feels that's almost the root of all human suffering and problem, is that there's a fear of mortality at the end that we haven't quite reconciled with.
Right.
And reading through that and how he helped these people and how it manifested for them just changed my whole worldview on how to treat other people. I used to think I was a big solver of people's problems because that's what my family's like. We solve problems. Don't talk about it, just solve it.
Just solve it.
And sometimes the solution is stop having a problem. But yeah, so it changed the way I interacted with basically every single friendship and relationship I had from then on. And also the way I then treated myself was like, well, what are you worried about? What is this? Why are you getting so distressed? And it so often comes to, well, there's a mortality that you haven't quite reasoned with. And again, that's why I think lack of religion in our society now leaves this vacuum. Because why wouldn't you get into that? Because that's what people are so scared of. Well, you're doing all this on earth because you will be rewarded in the next life if you do it well. okay, then I've got something to work towards. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, because by
Yeah.
that point you'll either know or it'll be nothing. So it doesn't matter. But now there's like, for most people who are non-religious, there's nothing apart from like, I guess, a nihilistic view of like, it doesn't matter, just live for today. But there's no sort of motivation to be good. And so that book really, really changed the way I think.
So that brings me on to the next question. What do you think happens when we die?
Well, I'm I'm not going to have a positive answer on this one. Jack, I'm not coming in with the, we'll all be hanging out with poppies and rainbows and up in the sky with the big man. I genuinely just think it'll be over. This is such a fascinating question. What is consciousness? What are we doing? What is all this that's happening right now? If you zoom out too much, it blows your mind, right? It fries you. And that's probably why I'm a big believer in, well, you can only kind of do what you can do in that moment, right? So I truly think it's kind of over. Now, whether that energy that you had then goes into something else or whatever, I don't know. The idea that there's this sort of heaven where you kind of are who you are, and I don't even know how it works. I don't believe in any of that. And also, wouldn't it get quite boring?
You think heaven will get quite boring?
Well, if it is this eternal hang.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been hanging out with my closest friends and partners and stuff, and at a point you're like, say the football or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, here's an interesting one for you, right? Would you rather die now or live forever?
see, this is where I will contradict myself, and
Go
that
on.
my instinct to say live forever,
Live forever.
and I could never die.
And you could never die. But the opposite of that to heaven is everyone else would die. You're the only one living forever.
Yeah. Well, don't they? If they die though, don't they come?
Huh?
Oh, sorry.
No, this is a different
yeah. So
question.
and then you kind of get so sociopathic. You get so detached from human emotion and the feeling of relationships, belongings, and stuff. It's like the sort of vampire trope, isn't it? Of
Yeah.
like they've been around for 1,000 years. So what is someone's 80-year life? It's like having a pet, isn't it? Like getting a friend. So when you think about it like that, you wouldn't. But my instinct, this is why I'm very much like my dad, is that. So I will say, morally, I'm like my mom.
Right.
In terms of her upbringing of like work hard, be a good person, be a nice person, be polite, be good to other people. You can say what you want behind doors, but as
Yeah. Put it.
But my dad has given me the sort of career-wise, I'm more like my dad in that he's like, take risks, go. You've got to do what you want to do,
Right.
because he's an entrepreneur all his life. And that's why I would be like he doesn't think he's going to die. He's 70. He's going to be 73 in March. He doesn't think he's going to die.
Right.
Ever. Like he doesn't consider that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a bit like that in that I couldn't face the idea of dying now instinctively. It'd be like, no, I've got to just take the other option. But if you gave me a day to think about it, I'd
Then
probably take
you'd
that because I've had a great life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 22. If any casting directors are watching, I've had a great few years.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Good answer. So you're saying there about you got your morality from your mother, right? Just go with me in this one. Just pretend you do believe in God and you do believe in heaven, right? And you're up in heaven, and God's like, give me 3 reasons I should let you in. Tell me 3 good things you did while you were alive that warrant you coming into heaven.
The best thing I've ever done in my life was, this is his words, I saved a friend's life.
You saved a friend's life.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a bit of shameless plug here. This is my first special. This is what it was
I've
about.
watched
It's on
it,
YouTube.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I've watched
So
it.
that's a true story
Yeah.
about one of my best friends and who was suicidal. And this came out that he was suicidal literally just before COVID. And so we end up spending lockdown together. And a lot of his other support networks, his girlfriend, she was kind of a trigger for him, not to go into too many details. I mean, he's an ex-girlfriend now, but so he couldn't really see her or talk to her. And then the friends that were around physically all left London,
Right.
which annoyed me because they could have stayed and, met up with him for walks or whatever, but they all left to go back to their family homes and all that. So it was really just me and he's estranged from his family. So it was really just me and him. And I think I feel like I'm quite a selfish person. I'm quite self-obsessed. Like I'm always thinking about what I want out of life and how I can get that. And I think that was one instance where I prioritized someone else and being there for someone else. And my parents, and obviously, it's kind of hard. My parents were kind of like, why don't you just take a break and come home for a bit? And I'm like, I can't leave.
You can't leave him.
Can't leave. So it was just me and him,
yeah.
And at that point as well, like, you're having therapy and stuff like that. He was trying to do it on the NHS, and the NHS is absolutely full, so he's getting like none of that and stuff. So just having those chats with him, and then him kind of surviving that. And I've actually moved out literally from that flat yesterday, from I was living together.
Oh, right.
And I said to him, what was the highlight of us living together, do you think? And he said, yeah, you saved my life. And
That's incredible.
so that's a moment that I don't think a lot of people will get. And I think also that I don't want to say that in a painted way of like, I therefore am like saint-like.
Yeah.
It's not like that, but it's just because genuinely I do feel I'm a very sort of self-obsessed, selfish person. So to have that one moment with someone that a lot of people who don't work in a medical practice will kind of never
yeah.
never get
Yeah,
like a
absolutely.
genuine admission from someone that you've kind of, and because he's such a great guy as well, like it's so often the way with people who have depression or mental health issues, they're great. And that's the worry. They have this manic part of their brain, which like, I'm a terrible person, which makes them behave really nicely to everyone, but also they go home and go, God, it's awful. So that's one, I would say.
One. Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a good
one.
start.
It's a good one. It's a strong start.
It's a strong
Yeah,
start.
it's a strong
but the
start.
problem is, Jack, now I've done that one.
Hard
I was-
to
I
live
wasn't
up to the
expecting
next
three.
one's gonna be. What's the next one?
I gave a quid to a homeless guy 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I truly after that, it's because I've had a very nice life. You know, I've given to charities, I've volunteered a bit,
Yeah.
but I've never actually sat down and gone, right.
There was no sacrifice in it.
You know what I mean? I've done a few hours here and there,
I shared a
given
couple of
100
crumbs.
quid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's not much of that going on.
Yeah.
I guess I would say I would go the opposite way. I'd be
Right.
you know, like sort of Cameron in 2010 for the Tories. Kind of the policies are mainly, well, I'll tell you what, you know, we're not going to do that, and
Right.
just being the opposite of what. So I'd be like, well, I haven't done any of the bad stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, or like Starmer in kind of 2024, where it was like, well, I'm not that guy, so
Yeah.
you can vote. So I kind of gone that offensive. I'd say, well, I've not murdered anyone.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but I don't know if you'd impress him with that.
Or her,
You-
or her,
or
or
her,
them.
or her. The one you have is very strong though, so I think you'd ride through to that.
Because one of my best moments in my life, now I don't think this would impress God that much,
Go on.
but was I bought my sister Eurovision tickets.
No, that's the
Because-
generosity, thoughtfulness. Yeah, that's
Because
good.
she loves Eurovision,
Yeah.
and it was the first time in my life where I had some money. I was
Yeah.
able to actually, and I thought, this has always been a dream of mine, was to surprise my sister with Eurovision tickets.
Yeah.
So I managed to get them. Unfortunately, it was for the one in Liverpool. So it wasn't the most exotic place.
Yeah.
It was easy to get to. But I get then, that was an amazing moment where I messaged her.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing this night? Knowing it was Eurovision night. And I had 2 tickets I managed to get to.
So you just told her on the day.
No.
No,
I know.
no,
I
no.
had to say it in advance. My
yeah,
sister would
yeah.
not appreciate that.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not a fan of surprises. Wants
Right.
it in the diary. But I knew that she would have had Eurovision in her diary as like, I'm doing something that night. I'm going to a Eurovision party or something. So I said, what are you doing that day? And she was like, oh, I'm obviously watching Eurovision. Like, why? And I was like, oh, I've got a gig. Would you mind coming to it? And then she was like, ugh, what's the gig? Like, she didn't want to come.
Yes.
And then I was kind of like, oh, it's in Liverpool. And then she was like, what? I was like, oh yeah, I got you Eurovision tickets. And then she was like, you're joking. And I was like, it was an amazing moment of like, genuinely, this thing that you think is me taking the mick is completely true. They're yours, have them.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, do you want to come with? I'm like, I don't care about Eurovision. Do not. And I was also like, there's loads of people who would love, it's like getting tickets to a Champions League final.
Yeah.
There's loads of people who would love to go at some point in their life, and you know those people. Take one of them. Like I would have a fun time, but I'm not going to actually. I mean, the music's terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to actually care.
And she would definitely have a friend who would.
So
love
she
it.
did, and she
Yeah.
took her friend who absolutely loved it, and they went up and had a great time by all accounts, and it was amazing to give someone that experience. And
So
and the fact that was kind of the first thing. As soon there's some stuff where like now I'm in a more financial position. I like that I can be generous with people. That's a really fortunate thing that I'm able to do. So stuff like that, where it's like you have them, go for it. I don't need anything. That sort of stuff.
That's good. I think that's a good one. I would go with that. I think it's better. I think it's better than I never murdered anyone. I think
Because that's number 3
if I
still.
was your lawyer, I'd be like, let's not talk about murder.
Yeah, do I get legal representation in heaven at this point? What my client's trying to say is he bought Eurovision tickets.
Yeah. So I think that's a better one. So have you got one more then? You've done some charity stuff, volunteer and fundraising.
Done a bit of that. But I mean, the thing is with those things, I remember saying this to she's kind of my aunt, but she's my mum's cousin. I remember messaging her when I saw her at my grandpa's funeral with my mum and just being so nice to her. And my mum, it's a woman who doesn't, we were talking about this in the Irish culture as well. I'm from a matriarchy, right?
Right, yeah.
My mum does not show emotion. She's running business, right? It's like mafia. So when I see her cry, it's like,
shocking.
whoa, okay, this is a huge deal. Like Tony Soprano is breaking down with tears. This is not good. So, and I saw her there, and I saw my aunt comforting her, and also because my grandpa's last few years, he was obviously up in Scotland. My uncle was really awful and being really mean to my mum and not helping, even though he was in Scotland. And so my kind of aunt, who was my mum's cousin really, but she was helping as much as she could, and she's also like the head teacher of a school and stuff, and got busy and has 3 kids herself. And I messaged her and said, like, it's so inspiring to see your compassion, to see you being such a wonderful person. And that's where I feel like I don't have that. Like I don't have that natural. Like she was doing that because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And she would do it 100 times. Whereas I don't feel like, I'm very skeptical of my own when I do something nice. I go, well, I've done loads of stuff wrong, so I don't know if it's if it's any good. So there's a few things. Yeah, there's charity. I've done stuff for free when it's a charity and they wanted to pay it, or like someone and donate the money and all that. I always do that for charity gigs when they give a fee. I say I accept the fee and then I go, just donate it. Don't pay me.
Okay.
Shouldn't say that on camera in case a good few comes in.
You get a lot of phone calls tomorrow. Every charity in the country.
Yeah.
Ringing you up, trying to book you.
Yeah. But I truly don't know of like moments.
You're still young though. You're still
Maybe
young.
still young.
I think that compassion and more less selfishness comes with age.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm good at? I think I hate exclusion.
Right. Okay.
So I hate social exclusion. I hate when, again, this is less so now because you become an adult, your circle narrows and but you certainly school, uni, sort of those. I hated the nucleus of the group and then obviously sort of leaving someone out who's a bit odd, or a bit different. Because I feel a bit odd and different. So if I was ever in that group, I would always make an effort to try and include other people.
Yeah.
And the odd time I've had thanks from people for that.
Yeah.
Which is a nice feeling. I had that at uni, this guy who obviously felt a bit odd, and I was like, at that point I'd become like running basically the Radio 4 part of the uni radio. And he messaged me after I left and was like, by the way, I never really said it, but like, I was really scared and worried about like joining and you really made me feel part of it. And now I've got like, more confidence and friends and things.
I would say I've seen that side of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I've seen that side of you. Well, you came on this podcast.
Yeah, but it's not getting released. I'll have a chat with you. Jack.
I definitely think I've seen that side of you, and I do think that kind of shows out. I think a lot of people would have seen that side of you. Right, I have another question here for you now. This is a bit of an interesting one, right? If you're talking to God, right, and God has said to you, you can be reincarnated and you can have a second life, right? But there's a catch. You have to change one aspect, at least one, but you can change more than one if you want. You have to change one aspect of your race, gender, or sexuality. What would you change?
Race, gender, sexuality.
Yeah, one. At least one. You have to change at least one, but you can change more than one if you like.
I mean, it's only down from here.
Well, there is an element of the straight white man just kind of being, well, I'll sit this one out, God.
Yeah, yeah. I've done it. I've done it. Well. The thing I've had this conversations with sort of people I've dated before, and had this with my partner recently, where it's like, what would you want to change about yourself, like physically? And my main thing would be, is that I burn. Is that I can't really ever enjoy, I can't enjoy summers. Truly, I can't have a beach holiday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of changing race, that would be the one I'd be drawn to. Because if I was to change to a woman, then I'm having a tougher life.
Yeah.
if I was to change sexuality, I'm having a tougher life.
Right.
And where in the world am I being? Am I still in the same place? Am I still in the UK?
No, the only thing that changes is that aspect.
Right. Okay.
Like you know, it's not like you can come back as a richer woman, or do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you know, you wouldn't be a better person.
Okay.
You know.
Well, I'm seeing what kind of variant, because I kind of probably would still want to live in the UK because it's what I know.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of deciding what kind of racism
Want to encounter
I'd
that.
sort of, yeah. I think East Asian probably gets the least racism,
Okay.
maybe. Saying that as an
When you
authority
say
as a white
East
person.
Asia, is that Chinese? or-
China, Japan.
Yeah.
But then being Afro-Caribbean has a culture that, you know, as a guy from North London,
Yeah.
I've tried to be part of that culture for a long time.
You put down
I've
the voice sometimes.
Yeah,
don't you?
yeah. I've tried to be part of that crew. But then, you know, the racism on the streets.
You have the fear. Then.
Am I still called Ali? Because then North African would be quite good.
Yeah.
There would be fewer questions.
Yeah. Well, no, you could change the name. The sunburn one is interesting. That's an interesting angle you came with there, because I'd be the same as that. Like my family used to go on holidays to Portugal, and
This is horrible.
it was just I couldn't leave the room.
Yeah, because my school friends, they're mostly like South Asian. And yeah, it's just beach holiday. Well, don't even get an umbrella. Let's just, it's impossible.
Our holidays were basically, we'd go on holidays. My family would sit by the pool for the whole week, and by the end of the week, I've got so much cabin fever. I'm just starting fights.
They come back. You're like Miss Havisham up there. Yeah, you come back to Portugal, you're just paler. You're outside. Yeah, so I don't know I mean, it's hard to know because you don't know what a different race's experience would be, but it's only going to be harder in the UK.
Yeah. It's one of those questions. I think it makes you aware of how you start to really see that these different groups have a tougher time.
Yeah, I always think that as a straight man, I think the concept of being a sort of outwardly gay man, like a sort of you recognised, not passing, like people would on the street and be like, I assume he's gay, is like you have your football shirt sewn onto your skin. And it's like there's places where that's really celebrated and people love you for that.
Yeah.
For, you know, and there's places where it's genuinely dangerous for you to just be doing that.
That's very interesting, yeah.
And I think because straight men get football so well, they get that tribalism. But then the idea, like, I think I was having this conversation with my mate recently, where it's like, I think if you ask most people our age, they would say that like gay people, trans people, in the UK, this is non-white people probably have more rights. They would be, have that. They have more rights than I do. And it's just bonkers.
Which is completely untrue.
Yeah.
Because there's less places where they can just be anonymous. Like you're pretty same as me. Like as a straight white man, you can just walk anywhere and not worry too much about.
Well, almost globally. I mean,
safety or security. Yeah.
I mean, you'll be targeted in certain countries, you know, because they'll assume you're rich because you're there, and you know. But in terms of the sort of prejudices, I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
Very fortunate.
Oh, God. Right, here's one for you, right?
But then I do remember, I'll tell you this story,
Go
though.
on.
I remember when I was in, and I don't think it exists anymore, I was at, was it called the Macbeth of Hoxton?
Okay.
Not Queen of Hoxton, different place. The Macbeth, it doesn't exist anymore. But me and my mates went to a kind of, it was like a sort of bashment Afrobeats night.
Right.
And I sort of think I'm quite a good dancer for a white guy. I'll
Right.
tell you that right now.
Okay.
Not hard competition to be in the top half of.
Yeah.
It's like being a top 6 finisher in the Scottish Premier League. It's not the biggest thing, but so I was like, you know, I'll be all right. I can.
You feel like you can hold your own. That's what you're saying.
But you know, don't do anything. Take any risks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just sort of, a bit too touch, keep it moving. And then I was kind of enjoying myself. I was getting a bit drunk, and I was like, I'm having a good time. This is all good. And you know, people are whining on people, grinding on people. I'm like, maybe I'll give it a go. What? So there's this guy, you know, her booty's out near me. She's like, and I think maybe she's giving me a bit of a vibe here.
What age were you at this stage?
23 maybe.
23, so you're
24.
all right, okay. So you weren't very young.
No,
You
no,
weren't-
no,
you weren't
no.
18.
No, but this is a night out. This is in London, right?
yeah.
So I was like, but also the parties I'd go to when I was 16, it was like you'd grind, like that's how you did it. You'd grind on a girl, and then she'd kind of get her friend to check how good looking you were, and then if she got the thumbs up, she'd turn around and get off with you for a bit and then
Right.
go away. So that was kind of the phase in which I was born.
This is what you're thinking, right? So
I'm thinking maybe she's kind of doing it. Maybe she's wanting me to. So I try to attach,
right?
And it was like in Alien movies where there's suddenly a spaceship with lots of lights pointing down. There was like about 7 people all with their
Phones
filming me, being like, "This is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life," and laughing. And then a guy. So they all kind of had a laugh, and then a guy pulled me off, and then really went on a mixed race guy.
Right.
And it was almost like, well, that gave us all a good laugh. Let's now get back to the.
So like watching a child do it or something.
Yeah. It was almost like that. It was almost, yeah. And so I in that way, maybe I want to be. Can you be mixed race? Can you be a light skinned guy?
Yeah, because that's a different race.
I would go with that then.
You go.
Light skinned guys have their moment. They're not as in fashion nowadays, but I think that's probably where I'd go. Yeah,
That's what you'd go with.
I think so.
Okay, yeah.
So that's because you have to give an answer, don't you?
You have to give an answer.
I'll be looking forward to all the other straight white men's answers on this.
It'll be an interesting question. I think it's the best question I have for the podcast going forward, because like in theory, everyone who's not a straight white man should pick a straight white man, shouldn't they? I guess that would be the assumption
for an easier life.
But
then all categories have their benefits.
Have their benefits
in some ways.
Yeah.
Like if I was a gay man, I'd probably be, the stereotype of that is being naturally very charismatic. Like I'm sometimes hanging out with gay men, and I think I am so lame.
Yeah.
But you guys, you're so funny and quick. I feel like that's a generalization.
Yeah.
There's so many gay men who could just go up and do stand-up because they're funny. They're hilarious.
And I suppose they have a better sense of community maybe than straight men.
Every single has a better sense of community. If you want to be isolated and watching red pill content, be a straight man. But there is not.
So there's no community.
There's no straight male march.
Yeah.
There's no cookout. There's no barbecue for the straight men, the straight white men. There's no support network. Like we know as a straight man, if you're on your group chat with your boys, feeling rough today, it's blue ticks all round. I don't want that content, mate. But if you're a woman, you may come in and maybe say something and want to chat with you and stuff like that. So
I went for my brother's stag do. We went to the full moon party in Thailand. I was probably a bit too old for it, but he was living in Thailand at the time.
I bet you.
And I remember it wasn't a big group for us, but there was a gay guy and he went missing, and no one was really worried about him. And then when the straight guys went missing, and then it was like, oh, we better find him. And it was because like the logic was, the gay guy had a community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was other gay guys there, and he had already sort of bonded with them. But like a lone straight man is lost there.
Yeah.
He can't just go up to other straight guys and be like, it's a trickier one.
Well, also, I assume those communities are based off of the fact that it's safety in numbers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
That's why it's so funny when you have straight white men in England talking about being persecuted and being victimized, because it truly shows you have no idea. Like we have no idea how that would actually feel. What someone on Twitter is saying, you're being racist.
Yeah.
It's completely the opposite to not being able to walk down a street alone.
Yeah.
That like a straight white man would just never really have that.
No, well, in England too, you had the Irish centres in the 80s and in 70s, 80s and maybe 90s when there was trouble in Northern Ireland were thriving, like because people felt safe going there. They didn't necessarily feel safe going to other pubs or other places, other social places. But that's kind of gone now, like for certainly from my perspective. So I've never lived that. But I think Irish people in the past in Britain have lived that.
Well, that's also another thing when I'm talking about my privilege, where you will at least have that otherness of being in England with an Irish accent.
Yeah.
That I'm sure some people get,
Never.
But I'm not talking about violent or anything like that. But like just the idea of them judging you in a certain way because, thinking you're fiddly dee.
Yeah, but you're the only one who does that to me.
But you are. That's the thing with you are. So they've got it right. So they're fortunate with that. But for there's other like sort of very articulate, intelligent, broody Irishmen who are painted with that brush
No
as well.
one takes me seriously.
Yeah,
do you know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah. Chiefly yourself. But
Yeah.
but for my accent again, it's one of those where it's people think. Like generally around the world, people can
Give you respect.
I think so.
Yeah.
Whereas if you like it has a Scouse accent elsewhere and so in the country, people might.
Yeah, the Irish one has definitely changed. I'd say it's even changed in my lifetime because Irish people have got into so many more positions of power that I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't know how we let that happen.
And the wealth of the country now too, like the economic wealth. So here's another one for you now, right? Pope Francis and the Dalai Lama. Both
Good
said-
friends of the show. Friends of the
good
show.
friends of the show. Shout out to the Dalai Lama.
That's the tag. That's how you start every episode. I'm Jack Hester. Shout out to the Dalai Lama.
I'll have to learn them all. What the leader of the Muslim world? Imam? What's the leader? Who's the
Well,
the
an
Pope
imam is
Imam.
someone who runs a mosque. I don't know if it's the chief imam. I'm not
Chief
sure. I
imam
don't know
or
how
something.
you'd say that, but
The Pope equivalent. There must be a Pope equivalent.
yeah. There's. I mean, because I don't know. There was an Ayatollah kind of because that was a very interesting thing in the Gulf War. When you talk about religion, this is a very interesting thing about Islam in the Gulf War because they were struggling so much. They changed the meaning of the Quran to be okay to commit suicide, so they could do guerrilla warfare. Because before then, if you commit suicide, you go to hell.
Right.
And then it was genuine military, a strategic decision. The Ayatollah of the time came out and was like, actually, I've just realized we've been reading the Quran. And then they changed it to you commit suicide, you go to hell unless you're taking down enemies of Islam. And then that's how you get stuff like 9/11.
Okay. Well, there is there's a great book I read called Black Wave, and one of the stories in it is about the siege of Mecca, which is where a terrorist group took over Mecca, and then the Saudi royal family or the Saudi state are then like trying. The guys with machine guns have Mecca, so they're trying to go in to get it, and they got the French Foreign Legion to help them, but the Imam ruled that the French couldn't go in and take it back. But they could coach the Saudis to go in and take it back. Like Muslims could go in and take it back, but non-Muslims couldn't go in and take it back. So the French are basically like, it's like, I suppose like Football Manager or something.
Yeah.
They've got headsets with the French guys.
They've had a red card in the previous game. They're in the stands.
Yeah. It's like,
Giving the guy,
to your right,
Yeah.
to your right.
play Call of Duty basically back home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is amazing. But anyway, back to the Pope Francis and the Dalai Lama, they both said that humour is a way to get closer to God. Do you feel, since you've started...
Not at our gigs. I've seen someone holy messes on stage.
But I wonder, have you felt like with humour and laughter, doing comedy, do you think that has brought you closer to God in any way, or are the ideals of God?
I think the complete opposite.
Really?
So I think humour, for me, feels sinful anyway. That's why it feels fun. That's why it's in the basements. These comedy clubs, they're in basements, they're in dark rooms, because it feels like it shouldn't be happening. It's a sinful thing.
Right.
When you do comedy in the same way you might do a sermon in a big daylight coming in, big hall, it's a bad place for comedy.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it should be happening. Whereas a low ceiling, dank, just crushed in room is great for comedy.
Yeah.
So I feel it's like a sinful pursuit, really. And also because I think that phrase, we laugh at what is ugly.
Right.
So you're not expressing virtues. You're not there to talk about what we can do better as a society. You're voicing the demonic thoughts that everyone has, and it's cathartic for everyone. That's why comedy is so great. That's why people come out of a club being like, God, I hate my neighbor as well. But they've not, because religions said they shouldn't feel those ways. Basically,
Right.
they have to push that down and focus on the positives. So I actually think comedy is completely at odds with a sort of Christian or godly pursuit. I think that's a tough crowd. If you're performing to an incredibly religious mosque, church, synagogue, that's a tough crowd. You can't go on in and be like, so I was balls deep in my wife the other day. Like, you can't be doing that because they have too many structures in place that you're kind of tearing down.
But do you not think that's just your humour, your sense of humour? Because some comedians are they could perform in a church. Some comedians are.
Some comedians can.
They don't really do kind of rude stuff.
I agree. That's a type of comedy. But then isn't it weird that they are so few? So it shows that you have to have a certain mindset to be able to perform to those.
To do
so
that.
most people's comedy is in pubs. It's after work. It's outside of professionalism. That's when you go, all right, lean in, lads, I've got one for you.
Right.
Because that's what comedy is for most people. I think those ones, you're right. I'm not saying it can't exist in those places,
Yeah.
but it's tougher to.
So and what's your take on that style of comedy? That sort of clean. Sometimes you'd see the ads. We're looking for clean comedy.
I think it's amazing. I think it's so impressive to rip it up with a clean set.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard. It's one of those things where, you start off as a comic, and I think so many, especially male comics, start off and they think, I'm going to say the things that people aren't saying. I'm going to talk about pedos. And it's the most hack thing you can do. And you're on a bill with 17 other open micers, 14 of which are talking about Philip Schofield.
Do you ever do King Kong in Manchester? Back
Yeah, I
in the
did
day.
it. We didn't do it the same.
I don't think we did
I
it
only
at the same time,
once,
but that was the type of gig where like every act would have a paedophile joke to start.
It's almost like you had to have one to go on. So, so I think it's then so impressive to be able to properly rip it up and destroy. I'm not saying just have a nice. We know people who have nice sets that are kind of clean.
Yeah.
I think we can all do that.
Yeah.
But there are, the Nate Bargatze's of the world
To really kill it.
to
yeah,
really
yeah,
kill.
yeah, yeah.
And Michael McIntyre and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. He throws in some swear words and has some sex material and stuff, but I think that's so impressive. And you kind of want that. You kind of want to be able to perform a routine, to have a routine that it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, doesn't matter what the audience is, that everyone finds it funny. But that is so hard to do. And I'll be honest, my favorite comics aren't that as well, because for me, and this goes back.
They aren't that.
Aren't that?
No.
It goes. It goes back to what I was saying about trying to reason with your own mortality. Comedy's great. For me, the greatest when it is doing that. It's the real catharsis of comedy that you are, because once you laugh at something, it means you're no longer afraid of it.
Right.
So to be able to take on not necessarily dark topics, but honest topics, like genuine feelings. The Louis C.K.'s and the Bill Burrs, what's really at the center of your being, and laugh at that, I think is great. And I think it's a shame when you see people at clubs on a weekend do bits that are good, but then they hold themselves back from really getting into it because they think, well, people aren't going to really like what I have to say after that. It's like, no, be honest. Be honest on stage. And I think that for me is my favorite type of comedy. I hate overly written stuff. I like it when people lose a bit of the crowd and go in a different direction. And I try and emulate that as well, because I think that's where I get so scared and fearful. So anyway, in answer to your question, the type of comedy I certainly like and respect the most
Sinful.
is sinful.
It is because you're a godless man.
Because I'm a godless man. God needs to be, that vacuum needs to be filled in some way. And I think that's a great gift you can give to people is when, and this might have been religion back in the day, they're having a rubbish week, month, year, life, whatever.
Yeah.
And they walk in a church and then afterwards they feel like they've lifted. That is the same that happens in a comedy club. And we see it. You see it. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's for different reasons.
Yeah, what did you think when the Pope invited all the comedians over to did you see that?
Now I feel like I'm in a pub in Ireland.
Yeah.
Now I really feel I did see it. I wasn't close to it because was it mainly American comedians?
Just a few Irish. Tommy Tiernan was
right,
there.
okay, yeah.
Ardla Hanlon. Maybe Jason Byrne. Even I think there was 3 or 4 Irish comedians. So it seemed to be from all around the world.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the invite.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Was it a case of like, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't. Well, I am not the go-to person to talk about the inner workings of the Vatican. Yeah. Although I do put out that image. So I'm not to say what exactly the reason for that is. Anytime you have a new establishment, new managers, there might be right, this is what I'm going to stand for, and that might be modernizing, and that might be seeing also how comedy in the last 10 years has become such a political thing. It's become such a shaping of opinion. People go to comedians to be like, this is what's wrong with the world. This comedian said it. It's like, which again, I think is a kind of a baffling thing that that people want to, take a comedian seriously, but also think they're just joking. It's like, it's got to be one or the other. You can't actually just base your political views on a comedian's podcast.
Right.
But that's a different matter. So maybe it's a case of, right, well, we'll get these people in because they have late night shows. They have millions of fans themselves. So let's get them on side, as you say.
Yeah.
But then there's nothing wrong with the invite because the pub can invite who they want. But the accepting of the invite's an interesting one. Yeah. Because it's like, right, you align yourself to that religion some way. And I think, as much as you can say, well, it's just like a visit, but it's like not sponsorship, but it's like an endorsement of, I accept, I'm happy with all this going on. I'll show my face there.
And as you're saying that you think comedy's at its best when it is kind of slightly subversive or kind of slightly anti the establishment or maybe anti, it is the thing you whisper at the outside the church, not what you would say inside the church.
So that was my issue with the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
Same kind of thing.
There's nothing wrong with performing to Saudi Arabian people. It's not about that.
But the government organised it.
It's about, I've said to myself, and who knows what will change in the future, but I would not want to, and I've turned down countries, I would not want to perform in a country where you're not allowed freedom of speech, where you're not allowed to criticise the government or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point it stops being comedy and it starts being PR.
And there's an element of they're exploiting you because
100%.
Because they're using you to pretend that they do have free speech when they don't. They're using you as evidence that they do have free speech.
They all had to do marketing for Riyadh and Saudi and So it wasn't just well, let's fly you in, you're on in 10, let's get you out. It was a whole PR move. But then if comedians want to do that, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
The problem is it's the lecturing on freedom of speech or people not cancelling comedy, not letting you say. Well, you literally signed
a waiver,
a document.
Yeah.
So those, that's the problem. You can't have it both ways.
So it does look like that they don't actually really believe in, say, the Church of Comedy. Are you
talking about the Catholic people? Or
no, I'm talking about the
Riyadh
comedians who went to Riyadh. That they don't really believe the things they're saying. That they're saying them because they're opportunistic. It suits them at certain times. Because to saying that you were all about free speech was a great marketing angle.
Mm-hmm.
But then suddenly when there's more money to not be that brand, they shifted brand really.
100%. That was the whole thing. Subscribe to my Patreon because I'll get cancelled.
Yeah.
So pay me money to get
keep me removed from the pillars
100%.
of society, so you can hear exactly what I want to say, and then moving into it. Right, we'll finish up with this last question then. Why are we here, Ali?
Well, you asked me. I don't want to be here. I mean, you're not into it. Why am I here? So why are we on this earth? Why are we?
Yeah.
I've not got the answer, man. It's to.
Do you think about it?
We're on this earth so you can buy tickets to my tour in 2026. That's. I mean, so I don't really concern myself with that question.
Ever? Did you ever have a period where you thought about it?
Oh, it's fun to think about.
Yeah.
But seriously?
Yeah.
What are you going to get? What's your answer? I more see it as why are we here is whatever you want out of it. I think it's a gift. I generally think it's a gift to have being. And look, that might be from someone who's had a very privileged life, a nice life. I enjoy my life immensely. It's a gift.
That's very religious. Life is a gift from God. It's a very religious.
I'm a religious man. I said that from the start. Well, but it's not necessarily from God. It could be forever. And that, again, that defines, is God this bearded person in the sky who is sort of looking over everything? Or is God this sort of idea and philosophy of greater than you, of something over you? And I don't know who it's from or whatever, but whatever this is a gift. And I endeavor to enjoy that gift as much as possible and never to be one of these bitter people who, get more. I mean, you sit in comedy, they get more and more and they just stay just as bitter. Yeah. And you're in green rooms with people who've had opportunities that I've never, ever had a conversation about, and they're complaining so much about how rubbish the industry is and how rubbish these comedians are. And I think you're wasting it, man.
Yeah.
You're just, and it's the same with I've been in, you so often end up with your demographics. I think that's such a sad thing about life, that you so often you go to your parties and your invites, look around that room, so many people who are similar socioeconomic to where you are at that time. Which my upbringing was never like that, because I had different friendships from school, from football, and so I'd go into different walks of life and kind of experience it. And now, and I look around these rooms, and there's so many other middle class people who have a supportive family and complaining about interest rates and the fact that it's so hard. We're trying to get an extension. It's like, oh, the planning permission. Get over it, man.
Yeah.
Your life is so great. You're in a free-speaking country where, look, I mean, what we've got now, you've got your health, you're still, what annoyed me was coming out of uni where people would be 22 being like, oh, we're old now. Embarrassing. Does that sound like Roy Keane now?
You're doing a lot of complaining now. You're doing a lot of complaining.
Come on, that's embarrassing.
Point that, but
it is that is the thing that winds me up. Whatever the reason we're here for, you gotta enjoy it, man. Because all that is, and this is what I believe, all that is happening is all in your head.
Right.
And that's why whenever you know, if you do get the flat that you wanted, you do get the work, the job that you wanted, you do get in a relationship that you take whatever was within you with that. So if you're sad, and you've never addressed that, you'll take that into your new workplace, into a new relationship. So whatever the reason we're here for, the better you can just enjoy what's going on in your head, and that, then I think everything else is going to be, you'll enjoy. It's great.
Okay, I think that's a good kind of note to end on. So I think listening to that, I think your religious teacher from childhood would be quite happy that you really, because that is a big message of religion, is life is a gift from God, and enjoy it. And that's,
I don't mind the teachings of Christianity. I had no problem with.
Yeah,
it was more the sort of organized religion.
Organized. Do you think? We're finding out this one then. Do you think organized religion is good or bad for society, and why?
So I would say inherently, I would say it was bad, but I actually think it's good because I think something else would replace it.
Something else, something worse.
Yeah. You don't know.
You don't know.
And I think people need communities. People will be herded in some way. So if they're herded in a way that's like, well, you should be a good person, you'll be rewarded in the afterlife, I think that's...
It's not a bad message.
And there's people who exploit that.
Right.
And also there's weird, like the amount of homophobia in religions and the amount of division by gender in religions, I think is bad for society. But who knows what would then
be there instead, yeah. Okay, well, thanks a million for coming on, Ali. You anyone say something before you go?
You know the joke, the comedian's joke about St. Peter and the Holy Gates?
Go on.
So, because I think this is perfect for this podcast, you might have heard it already, but it's a great comedian joke. So, I guess for people listening, comedians' jokes are jokes that only comedians would get.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry if you're not a comedian listening to this.
Yeah.
But here's the joke. So there's St. Peter at the pearly gates, and he's judging whether people should be allowed into heaven or not, and they're coming in each at a time, and this nun arrives, and so St. Peter goes, why do you think you should enter the kingdom of heaven? And the nun goes, well, I devoted my whole life to Christianity, to God, to everything. I gave up another life I could have had just so I could devote myself to this belief. And he was like, yeah, that's a good point. In you go. Next person up's a firefighter. And so St. Peter goes, and why do you think you should enter the kingdom of heaven? And the firefighter goes, well, the reason I'm here is because I sacrificed myself. I went into a burning building to save a young child. And I got the child out, but I couldn't make it out. So I think that sacrifice should maybe be a good enough reason. So Peter thinks about it and he goes, yeah, I think that is a good reason, actually. I think in you go, in the kingdom of heaven. And then two guys in hoodies and backpacks turn up. And he goes, why should I let you guys into the kingdom of heaven? And they go, we're the comedians. Look at you laughing. Producer, nothing.
I'd never heard that phrase, a comedian's joke, before, but it's completely a comedian's joke.
Yeah.
It's a very good one. But that's it. Thank you for being on the first episode of Opium for the Masses with myself, Jack Hester, and thanks a million. Do you want to give a little quick? You're doing a tour next year. This will come out before. It'll probably come out in December, January. So
Touring all the churches, mosques, synagogues. Get yourself down. 2026, I'll be touring UK and Europe. So if you want to come and hear me give a sermon, come down and get tickets on my website. Appreciate you having me, man. This is so nice. The first one.
Great to have you.
The first, are you calling them chapters? Almost as like a biblical.
I hadn't thought about that, but chapter 1 would be
maybe book
1, chapter 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be a good way of doing it instead of
Verse,
doing verse. Yeah. I might go with that. But yeah, thanks a million for coming down, taking time. I know you're a very busy man.
Never too busy for you, Jack. And that is what I'll say to St. Peter. It was like when he's asking for that third reason, I'll go, I made time for Jack Hester's podcast when I really didn't need to.
Well, anyway, thank you. And we'll call it quits there. Thanks, Tyler.